Peterson's biggest problem is that he only has one body, which brings us to the next stage of human identity.
War will take care of all of our problems.
As long as you want peace, well, God's Joker's the way.
Peterson's issue is really everyone's issue, especially in the digital age, okay? He appears as one person, but he embodies multiplicity, as we have seen, just like everyone. I mean, we've seen that on the emotional level in his case, but we can also see that on the character level. He's playing savior and destroyer, hero and anti-hero, scientist and theologian, right? So it is no wonder that people see that good, rational psychologist and other people see the possessed missionary in him. And maybe he is both. I mean, he probably is both, but why can't everyone see that, right? Well, I happen to think that it's because two personalities, if you will, are embodied in the same body.
And he was the first person to note that people were, in some sense, inhabited by sub-personalities that had a certain degree of autonomy and independent life. Brilliant observation. The cognitive psychologists haven't caught up with that at all yet.
So those who want to see one side in him project that on him, and those who want to see the other side in him project that on him. And I mean, you already know how to represent yourself in different social settings as essentially different people. You don't speak the same way with your friends as you speak with your family or your colleagues at work, right? You enact multiple roles on a daily basis, fluidly, without the need for an editor or a director. It's embodied. You embody multiplicity. So what if you could represent your inner world as embodied in, say, two separate characters? This may sound alien, it may sound strange, it may sound like a challenge, and it certainly is, but I think you can perfectly learn to do that because I learned to do that, and in only a few years. So if you could learn it, the question is, why should you do it, right? Why should you learn to represent yourself as multiple characters? I don't know what the best answer to that would be. Maybe you should learn to represent yourself in your multiplicity, because multiplicity is what you embody naturally anyways. Consider it a way of exploring the structure of yourself, an inner adventure that will transform you. You will essentially realize that those representations of yourself are archetypes, cosmic forces, if you will, and that you are just trying to interact naturally with both of them simultaneously, like Plato's charioteer with the two horses. I know this is a somewhat, honestly, I don't really know how to speak about the subject because it's still fresh in my mind. And, you know, especially if you've seen the last two episodes of my show on the main channel, what I think I'm practicing with Octohedronic Self-Representation, whose roots, by the way, I'm tracing back through Carl Jung and Tolkien to William Blake. Well, I think it's essentially the most Platonic form of poetics. Yes, it's scripted, but it's dramatic. It is very emotional. It is an embodiment because it's enacted, right? If you look at the architecture of the entirety of Logos 21, it's really just the smallest geometric body representing totality. So I'd say that octohedronic self-representation, or such representation, such poetic representation of geometric totality is a path to individuation, as Carl Jung called it, right? It's essentially language therapy. It's language therapy, but I think more than that, it's essentially poetic self-engineering. Again, if you watch the latest episodes, I think, you know, David Donnerstein puts it quite drastically.
The intention here is to harmonize a mind which is by nature bifocal, You mean you want to poetically engineer a bifocal consciousness by means of the...
Yes, octohedronic self-representation is the equivalent to a full depiction of God from the very center. In other words, God's self-representation.
Okay, well, I guess it's all settled then. Good luck finding volunteers.
The end game is to become one by aligning your inner multiplicity such that opposites cancel out. That's the goal.